Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I see that we've got some folks that have joined us. Welcome, everyone, to our now twice a month broker call, Heart of Atlanta broker call. And today, I'm excited to talk about winning strategies. And I've invited Ann Falconer with Shelter Mortgage, who is in our office here in Decatur, to talk about some really great winning strategies that Shelter is offering that she discussed on our team meeting call about 2 weeks ago. And I thought that this is some really great information that you guys need to hear about. So I'm going to let Ann do her thing this morning. And if you have any questions, throw it up in the chat and or raise your hand, and we'll get started here.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. So I'm Ann Falconer, and I am the team lead here in the Decatur Keller Williams office. And Michelle Mueller is also on our team, and she is a very experienced loan officer and can help your clients win deals also. And then we have, remind me, Tom, which offices are here with us today?
This is the Heart of Atlanta group. So we have the Decatur office, the Midtown office, the In-Town office, the West Cobb office, and Atlanta Classic and South Fulton.
Okay, so the Midtown office, if anybody's on the call from Midtown, we have Tammy Mills and Kathy Vitale that run that office. And then in the in-town office, we have Aaron DeArmas in that office. And then Kim Pounders and Nancy Grieve also work with a lot of the real estate agents in that office too. So what I'm saying today is something that Shelter as a Atlanta group, we offer this program to help your buyers win some deals. And that's our goal. So in today's environment with multiple offers and short windows, and we're getting a lot of pressure from real estate agents to turn things around pretty quickly. And we heard what y'all wanted, and James Williamson, who's the senior vice president of Shelter Atlanta, stepped up, and we've created what we call the fast track approval process. Okay, so. And if anybody has any questions, just feel free to jump in and shout, or raise your hand. Or so the fast track approval process, it starts with everybody being on board and managing those expectations. And I'll take a hypothetical, actually a real live situation today. Same thing happened to me last Monday. So last weekend I was 3 for 3. And yesterday I was 3 for 3. And what I mean by that is I had 3 agents emailing me and calling me and asking me, can we do this? Can we meet these dates? Can we? And I coached them and said, hey, how about we do this or do that? So all 3 of those offers went binding. Okay. So the first one that went binding, that the folks were, let me see. They were, all teed up and ready to go. They'd given me all their documentation. We did not necessarily put them through the fast track program, but it was a very, I'd seen everything and I felt really good about it. So, and it was a W-2 salaried employee. So that kind of teed them up. And then so that one is being closed on May 3rd, which is pretty fast. We don't always want to do that. Okay, let's just preface it with, we don't always want to do that. We like for the real estate agents to check with us and say, hey, I really want to win this deal. Can you help us meet this deadline? Yes, I'm going to work as hard as I can to make it work. But May 3rd is pretty fast, but I'm feeling good about it. Okay, but like if it was April 30th or April 29th, I'd probably say, you know what? We're going to probably have to push that one out a little bit because of title and because of an appraisal. Okay, so all these pieces are coming together, and we're doing the best we can, but there's some things that are out of our control, which is the title work. It's not a cash deal. Okay. There's a loan involved. There's title work involved.
She's on my call.
So anyway, let me back up one step and I'll take the second situation I had. The second contract is a fast track approval. Okay. So these borrowers had filled out their loan application way before they got in the car with the real estate agent. Okay. That's the important thing. Get your borrowers pre-approved. Do not waste your time. Okay. So we get them pre-approved. We look at the situation, first time home buyer, you know, they've got maybe 10% to put down. They want to live in East Atlanta, Kirkwood, Decatur. They're in the hot market in town. Okay. Not to say that outside the perimeter is not hot too, because I'm pretty sure it is. So I talk to the borrower. We get all their documentation. And what I mean by that is their income documentation, their IDs, and the assets that they're going to use for their funds to close. We get everything we need. The only thing we don't have, the only piece that we don't have is an actual binding agreement. So we get all their information. We submit it to the underwriter with an address that is TBD. Okay. So this person in the fast track program, this borrower is going through a full underwrite. Okay. Takes about 2 weeks. They come out of that fast track approval process. They get an approval with conditions. We look at the conditions and we try to get as, you know, if there's a few things we're missing, we'll get that information. They are ready to go. They've been approved. Okay. So full underwrite. So then you, as an agent, put them in your car, you start driving around, see this $500,000 house in East Atlanta, multiple offers. What are you going to do? You're going to submit an offer with a 0 financing contingency because your borrower has been approved by the underwriter. Okay. So number one, you're real strong because you don't have a financing contingency. Number two, we can do a fast appraisal. Okay. We can get an appraisal back. We like the appraisal window to be about 14 days. If it's going to be 12 days or 13 days, then we're going to have to look at the calendar and see where we're at. So we get the contract from you right away. Do not sit on a contract, and get your inspection ordered right away. Do not sit on that. So we get all that information. We order the appraisal. We put a rush on the appraisal. The one I had last Monday, I put a rush on the appraisal. They did it on Friday. We got it back today. Okay. So that was a week, 5 business days, 6 business days. But still, I mean, you know, we're getting into the super busy spring market. Probably best to put 12 to 14 days on an appraisal contingency with a rush and with the extra fee that your borrower is going to pay for. Right now it's $50. So we get the appraisal back and, you know, we get the title work back and you know, we'll close this one the 29th, I think, of 28th of April. So that's a pretty quick turn. Let's see. What else am I missing, Tom? Now, so you're going to, you know, if you've got a buyer, here's another tip. Okay. Any questions on the fast track for me? I feel like I am kind of going fast. No? Okay. I should put the chat up just in case. The other tip I've seen on a couple of deals I've gotten in the last 2 weeks is one of them was a sales price. I don't know, it was like $400,000. They were putting 40% down. Okay. 40% down on a $400,000 purchase, multiple offers. They knew that it was probably not going to appraise for the purchase price, but they waived the appraisal contingency. Okay. Because if you're putting 40% down, if you're putting more than 20% down, in this particular house appraised for 400, it didn't appraise for the 407. But because they were putting so much down, we lend on the appraised value. Okay, but your buyer is obligated to pay the sales price. So that $7,000 difference was already covered because they had put down a large down payment. So it didn't change. The only thing that changed was their loan to value. Now, if you have another scenario like that is if you have a first-time home buyer and they're only putting 10% down and their appraisal comes in short and the seller's not willing to renegotiate the difference, then they're going to have to pay that difference. So if they were bringing $20,000 to closing and there's a shortage of $7,000, they're going to have to bring another $7,000 because there's not enough value there. There's not enough of a down payment to cover it. That gets confusing for a lot of folks, but anytime you've got a first-time home buyer putting less than 20% down, I would be real careful about what kind of steps you put in there. And Tom will address that. What kind of verbiage you put in the contract, because your job is to protect your buyer and make sure that their earnest money is safe. I have any other questions? And one other thing about the fast track, we can't do it for a jumbo because a jumbo is a whole different animal. We use different investors. It's just a different type of loan. And then we can fast track an FHA client. I have one that's been fast tracked. In fact, it's actually kind of a good idea, I think. I mean, what happens is with FHA loans, sometimes there's some challenges as far as credit and down payment, and that's why they're choosing to go FHA. So it allows us to submit it to the underwriter, and if we see any kind of red flags or any issues, we can at least address them, before they go under contract. I mean, we try to do the best we can as a loan officer when we're giving a pre-approval, but when you go through a full underwrite, the underwriter is digging pretty deep, and sometimes they can find some undisclosed liabilities that we're not able to see. So I think, I've heard some chatter out there about, wow, it's just really hard for an FHA borrower to win a deal. And, I think if you fast track them, you're going to have one leg up. I mean, you don't know what the other multiple offers are. If you've got, 3 FHA multiple offers and one fast track, then yours is probably going to get picked up. So don't let that, stop you from submitting, FHA folks for a fast track. And self-employed, that's another one. That's a great fast track approval. Because with self-employed, we've got to get tax returns. We've got to make sure they have to sign a COVID attestation. There's a lot of moving parts with self-employed with COVID. Still, the COVID restrictions from Fannie and Freddie are still in place. So, I like to get the self-employed in the fast track too, because we'll get a very accurate income calculation. And that's the biggest challenge with self-employed borrowers is their income. And calculating it, so we're giving them as much credit as possible. Okay. Y'all are so quiet.
I think that's awesome information. Anybody have any questions for Ann? I just thought that, when she presented this to the Decatur office, I thought, wow, this is so awesome. And takes away so many of the fears that a listing agent's dealing with on multiple offers. And quite frankly, the first thing I look at when with an offer on a listing is who the lender is. Very, very important, because that's either going to make or break the deal. So I thought that those strategies were definitely winning strategies to help you guys in this crazy kind of market that we're in right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Go ahead. I was going to say, just to piggyback on what you said, you will find listing agents, if there's multiple offers and it's not a local lender, there's a good chance you're not going to win that deal. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, they are not going to take that chance of a bad appraisal. Number one, Shelter, we have our panel appraisers and we do it all here locally. And, that can kill a deal. So because it's such a seller's market, they can pick and choose. And a good listing agent is going to say, you know what, we really like your offer, but we don't like Quicken Loans. So there you go, you know. And then yeah, so I would say that is a critical piece of information that you kind of have to coach your folks on, and it will make your life a lot easier to go with a local lender.
Anyone else on the call have any other kind of winning strategies they'd like to talk to the group about? Don't be shy.
Hey, Tom, it's Kim.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Welcome. I'm so glad we've got a great panel today, and that's great information. Thank you. I think as a broker and actually as an active listing agent, that is critical that we have a local lender, number one, that is somebody we can gain access to. And a lot what we're finding in our market center with our amazing in-house people is they're actually taking the time to call the listing agent for some of our buyer specialists. So I knew that you were going to shake your head at that. And just assure them, in addition to the letter, that one extra touch is really cool when it can be done. Number two, the amount of earnest money is also, as for the agents on here, it's kind of important. We used to be able to get away with 12, 15, 2,500 bucks, $3,000, whatever. And now we tell our people minimum 1%, 2% when you can. So we just want to show the era of extra effort, in that, I say that fast 5 times, to show a little bit extra earnest when we can. And then slightly
And
related
Kim,
to
can I just interrupt one second and add to what you're saying about earnest money?
Yes.
Earnest money is a very important part of a contract, guys, because as a listing agent, that is your liquidated damages if the buyer defaults on the contract. So it really needs to kind of hurt if, in fact, you have a contract and, you know, the buyer's not real stable for whatever reason, or the lender they're using is not really up on top of things. We really need to take a hard look at earnest money overall in every market. That's it. Go ahead.
I agree. So I just think having a local lender, the letter attached with the file, no one on our team, and certainly we won't submit an offer without the pre-approval letter. And so with the pre-approval letter being attached, and then if the lender loan officer, amazing people, they work like we do a lot. You know, everybody's like, oh yay, it's the weekend. I'm like, oh wow, buckle up, it's the weekend. So I think the extra call when possible, and then a local lender, very strong earnest money, short financing terms whenever possible, because what we're finding is, I don't know the complete stats right now, but I heard that between 22 and some odd 30%. So 1 out of 4 or 5 are cash. So when you have a loan in process, it's got to be very strong. And so we had a discussion last week in our team meeting about pre-qualified and pre-approved. And as the listing agents look very closely at that. So, and it does put our loan officers through a tremendous amount of extra effort. So I think, and thank you for being on this call, because we're going through the ringers chasing these things, and we're appreciating you guys for stepping up and doing the extra effort as well. So I think having a lender very close to you, and even when our purchasers come to us and say, hey, my sister-in-law works for, you know, ABC Mortgage or whoever that may be, we do what we can to certainly not steer them, but give them an opportunity to make a better choice. So I'll just lay that down there. So strong earnest money, the shortest finance contingency as possible. And we're finding in our market, I'm in the Marietta, Cobb County, West Cobb, Paulding, and it's I'm sure it's across the country, and certainly our city, is the short appraisals, because the prices are climbing so quickly. So either the very short appraisal terms and or waiving of an appraisal. So it's very important to have all of those in your little arsenal to do. And have a very strong loan officer like yourself to support us. So thank you.
Yeah, I would also say, just piggyback on the weekend thing, last Easter Sunday, I had an offer, a list of buyers. I was working with the buyers. They were fast tracked, and she said, hey, can you call the listing agent? And I did on Easter Sunday. And, what else the buyer's agent did, who's in our office, that's another tip, is dig a little deeper with what the seller really, really wants. This particular seller wanted a rent back because they don't want to be homeless. They want to be able to buy a house and not have all that stress of moving twice. And so the buyer's agent, got that message, and the borrower said, you know what, I'm living with my parents. They can, legally they can rent back for 60 days with Fannie Freddie. But, something happened, it's out of our control what happens after closing, but, they signed a 60-day rent back. And are they paying her rent? No. She said, I want this house, I'll give up the rent, but they can stay there for 2 months. So finding out what's the sweet spot with your seller, and the rent packs seem to be becoming a little more popular because of the market. But yeah, we work really hard, and we know what y'all are up against, and we're trying to work as fast as we can.
Well, we appreciate you, and I'll just tag on to that. We shared in our market center that the 4 key things were: find out what the seller needs, so closing date, time frame, etc. That's a conversation. When you can get it out of the listing agent, which hopefully is most of the time. The temporary occupancy, which is what you speak of, is critical. Agents, if you're going to use that, I would encourage you to make sure with your lender, like she just said, it is a 60-day, max 60 days if it has to go Fannie or Freddie. And then oftentimes we are finding if we can meet those dates, maybe they have a new build that's not ready till May 30th, June 4th or something. If we can meet that time frame and they don't have to move twice, our team has personally won the last 3 because of what I'm telling you right now. Strong earnest money, very short or zero due diligence. If I have a due diligence, the inspector's already on speed. They've already scheduled. They are scheduled before I make the offer. I'm penciled in. So earnest money, financing, appraisal, and meeting the needs with the temporary occupancy. And strong lender, of course, being at the top of that pile. Sales price might matter just a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, going to move on here. Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up on this call before we end the call? All really great tips. I will also agree that I have a lot of questions about temporary occupancy. That seems to be a really big buzzword right now in the market. And, if you've got a buyer and they are in a position to allow that seller to stay in the property, if that's their motivating factor, that's going to really help you guys. So, try to dig into that and see what you can find.
Hey, Tom, we had,
Hey, Carlson.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Long
well.
time no
How are
talk.
you?
Hey, we had somebody, an agent in our office, post, this was a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was really good. He had a listing in Woodstock, and he had just listed it over the weekend, and there were 26 offers. And so what he did is he kind of recapped all the 26 offers and then basically told who the winning offer was. And I've got it right here if y'all want to hear it really quick. I thought it was just
Go ahead.
Kind of an interesting thing. Okay, the list price was $295,000 in Woodstock. It was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath traditional on a great lot, priced slightly under market value intentionally. Okay, out of 26 offers, 20 were over asking price, ranging from $300,000 to $336,000. 4 were at asking, and 2 were under asking price. Out of the 26 offers, 3 had escalation clauses, all with the initial offer price still over the asking price. 9 either had removed the appraisal contingency or had offered between $5,000 and $10,000 in appraisal gap coverage from the buyer. 3 had 0 due diligence days with the right to inspect and request repairs. 8 were already through underwriting and offered 0 days on financing contingency. 0 offered the buyer paying any portion of commissions. 4 were cash, 15 conventional, 6 FHA, and 1 VA loan. 14 were putting 5% or lower down, 2 between 10 and 19% down, and 6 20% or more down. 8 wrote buyer love letters, which our sellers elected not to read or review, and the winning offer did not write one. The winning offer ended up being $335,000 cash with a 5-day due diligence period. So that just I thought it was just kind of interesting to see out of 26 offers what other people were doing and what the winning offer was. Of course, cash is king, so.
We don't like cash.
You guys have got to be very careful too if you're attaching love letters to your offers, because we don't want to have any kind of fair housing issue if they don't get the offer. I personally don't think it's a good idea, and discourage the use of that, just simply because of the liability that is attached to it. Any thoughts on that, Carlson? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've all kind of talked about that. I totally agree with you. It's just, you know, I've even heard people now starting to send in videos, you know, to the sellers. And I just think it opens up potential for some liability there. So a lot of the sellers, you know, a lot of people are advising their sellers, let's not look at them or, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I totally agree with you there.
We discourage as well, and we've got 350 agents in 3 offices, and we do discourage it. And certainly if they do present anything, we give the seller the option to review it all. And at any time, at no point is a picture to be sent with it. They can send a paragraph and say why they love the house because whoever lives down the street. But other than that,
yeah,
it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, guys.
No.
So yes, our listing agents, we actually have a course right now we're teaching on how they're developing. They have to build a spreadsheet on all these offers. So I know the loan officers see that. We have a templated spreadsheet that we're building, and we put in those criteria, you know, all the way across the 8 key points, and one of them being the loan officer, closing attorney. It certainly matters. I mean, our lender and such. So the 5, you know, there's basically 8 key points from sales price, due diligence, finance that they're building these spreadsheets on. We had an agent last week that listed one just below market, very seasoned agents, 24 years in the business. It was priced probably maybe 10% below market because it was slightly distressed. She had 132 showings and 71 offers over a 4-day period.
Kim, are you guys?
I can't even get my brain around that.
That's insane.
That's insane.
I don't even know how you manage all that. Kim, are you guys asking, or Tom, any of your agents for proof of funds to cover any kind of appraisal gap?
I always suggest that you have to have proof of funds, especially with an appraisal gap, because I mean, you could accept an offer with an appraisal gap and they don't have the funds to do it. So, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, you have to do that.
There's a conversation in our market centers about that, yet oftentimes what I'm finding is, and it's kind of a catch-22, if they show that they've got, you know, 40 grand sitting in the bank somewhere, then their offer, they may want to even offer more. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like, do I show it right now or do I not? So we're finding our agents are stipulating that proof of funds for appraisal gap to be shown within, you know, 12 hours of whatever. But I agree. I think it's a good thing to have. And certainly on a cash offer, it better be attached. I'm not even having the conversation.
Yeah.
And if they're putting down a large sum, like a 40% down payment, I may need to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell our agents, keep it simple, keep it to the point, make it as, you know, fewer stipulations or less. And the only stipulation they really care about seeing right now is how much more you can pay over appraisal and where that money's coming from. But yeah, it's a fun market right now. It's definitely, I never use the word frustrating because some of the agents love to use the word, it's such a frustrating time. I was like, you need to rethink how you phrase that. It's change frustrating to fascinating. This is fascinating. We've not seen this before. So we've been in a lot of I've been doing it 22 years. We've seen a lot of markets. This one's unique. It's different. Opportunity to learn. Hey, let's grow together.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tom, this is Drew Newman. I'm here in the Decatur office, everybody. I'm sorry I'm sorry for being late to the call and apologize if this has already been addressed. I have a client that's very interested in Homeward, and I spoke to DJ in our office, and he said that it was a pretty rocky process with them. They didn't really, great concept, it would be a great match for one of my clients potentially. But has anybody, what have you all encountered with them that I should know about, pros, cons?
Drew, what was the name of it? The lender?
Homeward.
Homeward. Oh.
Homeward.
Well, that's where they go in and buy their home so they can make the buyer essentially a cash purchaser. And I think we're still in the learning phase on that one. To answer your question, we actually have had, and I have not done it yet, and I would like to better understand it myself. There's a Homeward certification where you sat through the course to understand it. And I want to better understand it, but basically it's where they purchase the buyer's home who's going to be your now buyer so they can become pretty much a cash purchaser. So that I think it's got a lot of moving parts. I don't know how fluid it is at this point. And I think that's definitely a question to ask.
I've gone through their training
Okay.
and basically it's two simultaneous contracts where Homeward is purchasing the onward home, is purchasing the new home. And there's also a contract to go ahead and there's two simultaneous contracts. DJ was telling me they kind of get a little bit wonky with when you get paid as an agent and how you get paid. But basically, I want to know if you all had gone through it. I saw a Facebook ad in my feed from a KW Partners office, like touting this. And I really want to know if this is viable because I want to know how we can compete against Compass, who's throwing free cash at their clients for bridge loans and for renovating their home to bring it to market. I mean, I think this could be something that could be good, but I was hoping that hopefully in your network,
Yeah.
I was hoping you could say, yeah, it's great. We had no issues because
We have at Keller Williams in town, we have at least 4 or 5 agents who have used it successfully.
Okay.
They might be good ones to talk to. If you're interested, I'm sure they'd be glad to talk to you about it.
That would be great. Can I connect with you after the call?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Thanks.
Hey, Drew. I did some investigating on knock.com. I don't know if you've looked into that one as well. I don't know if anyone else is familiar with it, but I would look into that one as well. Look like a good solution.
Yeah, I think there's so many. There's Knock, Ribbon, Homeward, Purple. Not Purple. That's a mattress company. Anyway, they all sound the same. I think that would really be a great thing for our group to get up to speed on, because it's a potential competitive advantage not only for our buyers, but for our group. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I had someone who wanted to buy something first before selling. And so I looked into knock.com, and it's basically, Knock is just a lender, and like the other programs, they're going to help you buy, make a strong offer, and then sell your house later. And they basically give you 6 months to sell your house.
Yeah.
And the only fee they charge is a 1.25% convenience fee, but they don't charge a loan origination fee. So it comes out to a little bit extra in closing costs, but it's pretty minimal. But yeah, it's something I definitely want to explore as well.
Yeah, Homeward is competing in that same space, 1.4%. If you use them as their lender, if you use them as their lender, same thing. They'll use the equity in your current home 6 months to sell, and they have just a plain straight out buy with cash option, which again, similar, fairly low transaction, convenience fee, particularly if you're talking about an 800K house and people are coming in 30K, 40K over asking. I mean, that's well within the range of what they're already throwing at a transaction. What I would love to know is, I'm a relatively newer agent. I don't want to talk my clients into using Homeward without really understanding, in say an 800K, 900K Decatur price point, how much coming in all cash is really going to allow them to prevail. So it'd be an interesting survey back out to the agent population who's been on the other side of these. Really, how much is a cash offer going to prevail? And certainly if you're dealing with Homeward, it's going to be our job to carry some water to reassure the listing agent who's never heard of these people that this isn't a lender that appeared out of the internet 2 months ago. Does that make sense? like they're reliable and it will close. So anyway, thank you.
I've got a question in the chat about, can you explain more 0 days due diligence with right to inspect and ask for repairs? And I've consulted with a lot of our agents about 0 due diligence and attaching the right to request repairs exhibit, which is the way we used to write contracts before there was a due diligence period. It was either right to request repairs or sold as is. But with the right to request repairs, sometimes that's a very important way to go because you're really only negotiating repairs on the property and not being able to terminate for any reason or no reason at all. The only thing that I would say that you need to make sure of is that you make sure you read that document clearly, because there are some things that are grandfathered in. I've dealt recently with an inspection report that said this was an issue, this was an issue, and it was in conflict with the right to request repairs. So just be real careful with that, particularly if you are, dealing with roofs or plumbing. May not be considered, it may be considered grandfathered in and in good working order, and it may not be an issue that you can address in a repair situation. And so basically what you do is that you say, okay, I'm going to do my inspection within X amount of days of binding agreement date, and then we're going to have X amount of days from binding agreement date to go back and forth and negotiate the repairs that we are going to negotiate. So generally it's like 7 days to inspect and 10 days from binding agreement date to negotiate the repairs. But that's how that document works.
Can you elaborate a bit on that, Tom? Because I've received offers with as is, but with right to inspect, and that just felt like window dressing. Still a due diligence.
Sometimes it's a good idea. Some sellers are more comfortable just dealing with repairs than they are dealing with the fact that somebody can terminate for any reason or no reason at all. It's a little bit stronger, in my opinion, that we're only going to address repairs. And so in some cases, it's just a better strategy to use.
I'll chime in real quick. I've been able to use both in our market center, just so you know. We're like everyone, we're walking our agents through that. Due diligence, if it's given a very short time frame, maybe 3 to 5 days, can seem a little bit tighter time frame, because if I get a right to request repairs with 7 and 10, I know I'm still subject to something happening in 7 or 10 days, especially when it's really hot. So I go to our sellers. We'd encourage our guys to go to the sellers and say, which do you prefer? Here's the difference. Due diligence means they can walk for any reason. The time frame shorter, we'll know by Friday. Or right to request repairs means that they're basically going to come in, and only if something is really wrong. Like Tom said, you have to be careful. Just because a HVAC unit is 21 years old, if it's still blowing cold air, you don't get to step in and say, hey, we want a new one. So that's a big difference. So I would encourage you, like Tom said, to read the documents very carefully. And as to me, and as is with a small due diligence, basically means we're only going to look for something big. And certainly with a conversation with the agent. So I've seen that a lot too. There's a couple of different strategies to deploy. And again, it's trying to meet the needs of the seller. So talking to the seller client through the agent is when you can. And I think the challenge is right now with it moving as fast as we can with, 25 offers in 2 days, how much can you really get out of the listing agent at that point? It's definitely a challenge. I just say, which do they prefer? And it's a conversation to be had. I hope that helps. Does that help any?
Well, and here's the thing. It doesn't have to be 7 days or 10 days.
Correct.
Guys, we're in a market where you better know when your home inspector is available to come and inspect a home. Okay. It could be, you could call your favorite home inspector and say, I'm getting ready to write an offer. How quickly can you get to this property? And he may say, I can get there in 2 days. So if you could potentially have a 2 or 3 day right to request repairs with a, 1-day turnaround on negotiation of those repairs. So it doesn't have to be 7 or 10 days.
Exactly.
Most important thing today is to be prepared. Be prepared with your lender, be prepared with your home inspector, and just know how quickly and what you can do in terms of turning it around. Because right now, that's going to be your winning strategy. Anybody else have anything they'd like to speak to while we're on the call? Come on, guys, this is your opportunity.
I just wanted to add one more tip, and it helps the lender out a lot, whoever you're hopefully using shelter. Because a lot of the contracts are getting written and binding on a Sunday or a Saturday. So if you can just put that little blurb in there that if the contingency expires on a weekend or a federal holiday, then it would move to the next business day. Because if we get a contract on a Saturday or Sunday and there's a 14-day appraisal contingency, we really only have about 12 days. So it definitely, those extra couple of days are huge. So we would appreciate that.
Yeah. Good suggestion. Okay, guys, it doesn't seem like anybody has anything else on their plate. So I'm going to end the call. And I wanted to let you all know that on the 26th of April, which is in 2 weeks, our topic's going to be get your commission on time. And it's more of a compliance piece. And that's going to be hosted with Deborah Blue from the Midtown office. So make sure you put that on your calendar. And if no one else has anything, I just want to thank Ann. Thank you so much. I think everything that you have said is so important for agents to understand that if you want to get the deal, these are some great strategies in order to help you secure that property for your client.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the time.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope everybody has an awesome week, and we'll speak with you soon.
Hey, Tom, can I stay on with you for a second? I got a quick question for you.
Yeah, let me call you, Drew.
That sounds great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.